Good morning. This is RCB News, and I am Ryan Bolin. I want to get right down to the news at hand. I want to talk about the tragedy that took place a few days ago with the Travis Scott Astro World concert, where 300 people were injured and 8 were confirmed dead. I, unfortunately, watched in horror as I had logged on to Terry Swope. I subscribed to Terry Swope videos and also Jason A videos, and you will see that in the description box below, where you can actually see the video footage, if you haven't seen it yet, of hundreds, maybe perhaps thousands of young people breaking down barriers and swarming through to get to Travis Scott. Now, I don't know anything about Travis Scott. I just heard about Travis Scott from that video. That was it. I mean, when I saw the headlines, 300 injured, 8 dead, Travis Scott Astro World concert, whichever. I knew that was the first time I ever heard about him. What got my attention was when I actually watched the footage of thousands of young people breaking down barriers and stepping on innocent lives, and people dying and screaming and hollering. There was a guy in the background filming it, and some of you probably already have seen it already, filming it, and he was like, oh my God, come over here. And then there was another guy that they switched to another young concert goer, and he was horrified at what had happened. He called it demonic. And in my opinion, he was absolutely right. And that's what I'm going to be dealing with. I'm going to be dealing with, to some extent, what I believe to be a demonic influence on these concert goers. And I'm going to give you my reasons for that. So I'm going to be dealing with that. But first, I want to talk about the whole idea of mass hysteria. And when you think about mass hysteria, you think about when there's a bunch of people that start getting crazy and going off the rails over some tragedy or crisis that takes place. A group of people get scared, or a person gets scared, starts screaming, and it starts spreading. I want to share with you a story that happened to me many, many years ago that kind of ties into this concept of mass hysteria. This was when I was about maybe 8 or 9, I believe. About 1978, my older sister took me to go see a movie called Dawn of the Dead. And some of you may have heard of that or seen it. Dawn of the Dead, my favorite horror movie of all time. And it's about these zombies that take over a shopping mall. And these group of people come in, they make their home in a shopping mall, and they get comfortable. And all of a sudden, towards the end or the climax of the movie, this biker gang crashes in and tries to take them all for themselves. Towards the climatic scene, there's a scene basically where one of the motorcycle gang members is knocked off of his bike. And as he's knocked off of his bike, a group of zombies grab him and rip his stomach open. And they begin to tear out his entrails, and they begin to consume his entrails. And I'll never forget it. As I'm sitting in the movie theater, every single person, my sister, people to my left, people to my right, in front of me and back of me, started screaming to the top of their lungs. Like screaming. They were screaming, and I'm watching this scene where this guy's stomach is ripped open, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, it's gross and it's shocking, but at the same time, I'm kind of like intrigued by it. Young people, young males, a lot of young males are not bothered by that type of stuff. It intrigues them for whatever reason. So I'm intrigued by it. But what scared me and what really terrified me wasn't the scene where the guy's stomach is ripped open. What scared me was the mass hysteria of every person, just about every person in the movie theater, screaming at the top of their lungs at the same time. And when that happened, I'd say literally 5 seconds later, I started crying. Tears started rolling down my eyes, not because of what happened on the screen, but because what was happening around me. The mass hysteria, the mass terror that was taking place around me caused me to cry. Not the movie screen, not the scene in the movie where the guy's ripped open. And what's my point? My point is that this situation here is what I would call on a human level, mass hysteria. Mass hysteria. Now, according to some reports, there was a surge that took place. Nobody knows why the surge took place in this concert. The surge of people started pushing forward, and then all of a sudden, all these people started going forward, running towards the stage or whatever. No one knows what caused the surge, but whatever caused the surge, it caused mass hysteria. This person started doing it, then that person started doing it, then that person started doing it. Then everything that energy, that collective energy, began to jump off on other people. And as that collective energy began to jump off on other people, everybody started doing it. Now think about this. You got thousands of people running all over other people to get at a person. And I'm going to talk about that later in this video. I don't want to go too far. I'm going to talk about that later in this video, about this individual person or these musicians and artists that people just tend to pass out and go crazy over them. I'm going to talk about that a little later in the video. But these thousands of people affected, this one person affects this person, that person affects that person. Next, you got thousands of people running over other people trying to get at this one singer. Now, I can't help but imagine, as I was thinking about this video and thinking about this situation, what is possibly going on in the minds of these people as I saw them running towards the stage, breaking down the barriers. What could possibly have been going on in their mind to cause them to do this? Were they thinking? Think about it. You're stepping on people. You're stepping on their rib cages and their stomachs and their skulls, and I'm going to assume they felt this on the ground, that it wasn't like stone. It was human flesh that you were stepping on. And yet this mass hysteria was so intense that they were willing to take human life in order to get to this demigod that they had created for themselves. That's one level of a collective energy that I want to talk about, which is mass hysteria. That's one level. But I want to talk about something else too. And that is, number one, and most of you already know this, that as being a Christian, I believe in the supernatural. In fact, the book of Ephesians in the New Testament, chapter 6 states that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and spiritual wickedness in high places. And what that scripture means is that the real battle is not in the three-dimensional realm that you and I see every day. The real battle is in the realm that we don't see. It's what the Bible calls the spiritual realm. The real, or what astronomers, not astronomers, but physicists call the fourth dimension and the fifth dimension. In fact, physicists believe that they theorize that there are actually 13 separate dimensions in our realm of existence, but that's a whole nother story. The point is that I believe there is another dimension. It's called the spiritual dimension that influences and manipulates and controls to a large extent our three-dimensional realm. And I believe that what occurred here wasn't just a mass hysteria of collective energy. I was just sharing with you the natural concept, but I believe there was a demonic concept, just like several other YouTubers believe the same thing. Now, here's what's interesting about this. You may say, well, wait a minute, you believe it was demonic. How can you believe it was demonic? How can you believe what demons just start coming in and making people go crazy? And first of all, if you watch the video of the young man, and he's terrified, and he's talking about, he kept saying this stuff was demonic, man. It was demonic. It was like, he stated, it was like being in a concert in hell. You couldn't see anything, you couldn't breathe, and you couldn't see anything. He said it was like being in a concert in hell. He said it was demonic. It was demonic. Now, you may say, well, okay, well, he said it was demonic. It don't mean it was demonic. But I want to share something with you that may spark your interest. I want to read a excerpt from a book that I purchased some years ago. It's called the Shinar Directive. Okay, purchased it some years ago. It's called the Shinar Directive. And I want to read something about what this author calls the demonic hive mind. The demonic hive mind. I'm going to read this and then think about this collective energy that you saw happening in this concert. He says, it also appears that demons can work together over groups of people as a hive mind in concert with the principality that governs that region or nation. This hive mind produces an energy called egregores that can take on a life of its own within its directed movement. Think about that. This energy can take on a life of its own within its directive movement. This energy is called an egregore. It's an energy that's called an egregore, and it takes on a life of its own. Now, let me read some more excerpts from this, and think about this. He says, metaphysicists who do not rely solely on the Bible for authority often agree that powerful non-human energies, including evil ones, can emanate from symbols and, once released, take on a mind of their own. Writing about the Masonic involvement in the French Revolution, Gary Lachman makes an extraordinary and important observation about immaterial destructive forces, which had unseen plans of their own, released as a result of occult politics. And I'm not going to go into all of the detail about that, but this person is basically saying that during the revolution, that there were certain energies that was released that stirred up these people to partake in this revolution. Let me read another portion. True or not, egregores can nevertheless be engendered by the collective will and imagination of nations. As Joseph Godwin points out, quote, an egregore is augmented by human belief, ritual, and especially by sacrifice. If it is sufficiently nourished by such energies, the egregore can take on a life of its own and appear to be an independent personal divinity with a limited power on behalf of its devotees and an unlimited appetite for their future devotion. If, as some esoterics believe, human conflicts are the result of spiritual forces for spiritual ends, and those forces are not all good, then collective catastrophes like the French Revolution take on a different significance. He's mentioning the French Revolution because the French Revolution took the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. But what this occultist is suggesting is that there was a demonic energy, an egregore, that stirred these people up and caused them, working in a hive mind mentality, caused them to slaughter all these people. So the author of this book sums it up this way. I believe this type of manifestation happens when the minds of the people are influenced by occult power and become one, not only with each other, but with the demonic forces at work. Now you may say, okay, what are you talking about? These people worshiping demons? No. But is it possible? I'm just trying to get you to think about something else here. Is it possible that perhaps the artist himself opened up portals? We don't know what this artist does. We don't know if he's into the occult or not. We don't know that. Some of you might know. I don't know. But is it possible, and I personally believe it's possible, that a portal may have been opened and that this collective energy infected these people and they began to just brash through these barricades and just stomp on people like it was nothing? I would not be surprised if the next day that occurred, these people that trampled over the other people don't even remember what happened. I wouldn't be surprised if they say, I don't even remember. Of course you wouldn't remember. The egregore, the demonic energy took your mind over. I want to say something else too that's in reference to this. There was, I'd say, few years ago, I was watching I had subscribed to a YouTube video channel, a Christian YouTube video channel, that the individual was an expert and is an expert in the occult. And as this individual was being interviewed, he stated to the interviewer about these celebrities and these musicians that get on the stage and begin to sing. He said something that was startling. Now, I'm not saying what he said was absolutely true, but could it be? You got to remember, I believe in the supernatural, and I believe portals, to the supernatural realm can be opened if we do certain things to open those portals, those gateways, stargates, whichever one you want to call them. So he stated that a lot of these musicians, though they are talented, that's not what draws these crowds and millions of people around them and cause them to pass out and break through barricades and all this. He says that's not what causes them to do that. He says what causes them to do that is a somewhat like a demonic anointing that is placed on them or comes upon them when they get on that stage. When they get on that stage, people think that it's, according to his words, people think that it's the artist's skill and the tactic and their great voice. But it's not. He says it's not really that. Not that these musical artists aren't talented, but it's not the talent that the people are attracted to, that the crowds are attracted to. It's the demonic energy that's placed on them when they get on that stage. The people that crowds around them don't understand what this energy is. They're like in a trance state. Have you ever watched it? I've never been in a concert. I'm going to share that at the end of the video about the only concert I've been in, but I'm going to share that at the end of the video. I've watched concerts, and some of you have already probably have been in concerts or seen concert footage where people are like almost in a trance state. They're looking up at the artist like this artist is a god. And if this demonic energy that this occultist and this expert in the occult states is real, then it makes sense. That this demonic energy, he says, comes upon them, these artists, and it gives them this ability to do and say things that they wouldn't normally be able to do. What was it? Not Nicki Minaj, but what's her name? Wow. Beyonce said some years ago, I think in 2012, 2013, she stated in an interview that the personality, the subset personality that she says come upon her, she says, was it Sasha Fierce? Now we can say that that's just her bad side, whatever you can call it that. But me personally, I don't believe that. I believe she's talking about an actual spirit, an entity that enters her or comes upon her that helps her to do the things she do. Because she said in an interview, she can't sing like she want to sing and do things like she want to do if Sasha Fierce didn't energize her to do it. This entity didn't energize her to do it. I didn't say that. She said that in an interview. She said, I couldn't do the things that I normally do without Sasha Fierce. I couldn't do those things. I couldn't sing like this. And when she gets on the stage, how promiscuous and sexual she is, she's basically suggesting that this entity helps her to be that way, helps her to be uninhibited. So if you connect what she said to what this occultist said, this expert in the occult said, then it makes sense that this demonic energy comes upon these artists that make people swoon, crash through gates, stomp on people, and basically kill people to get at this person on the stage. What is drawing them? What is causing them to do this? And when the next day comes around, more than likely they don't even remember what they did. Passing out simply because the person is singing. Now, somebody can argue, well, it's the excitement, it's the lights and the sound. You could argue that because of the intensity of the lights and the sound. But personally, I believe, in my opinion, it's demonic. One of the reasons why I believe it's demonic, again, is because I have seen concert footage of people like singers in the 80s like Anita Baker and others. Beautiful artists can sing their heart out. I don't never see people falling out and breaking through the barriers and all this kind of stuff trying to get at them, because I personally don't believe that kind of energy comes on them. If it does, I don't know. But they're not singing lyrics that evoke or perhaps open up those kind of portals that allow these entities to come through, or these egregores to come through and infect tens of thousands of people to do things they wouldn't normally do. So I just wanted to say that right there. That's my take on that. We should say, as one YouTuber said, these young people need to stop worshiping and idolizing these musical artists and celebrities. They are human beings that perhaps, in my opinion, as well as other opinions, may be overtaken by demonic energies that cause you to swoon and pass out and basically trample over people to get at. Let me end this video on this. The only concert that I've ever been in was about a couple of weeks ago. We had a Bone Thugs and Harmony concert at Tower City, where I work at security. And I was pulled off my bike. Me and my partner was pulled off my bike by my supervisor to come down there and fill the void because we was down on security. They didn't have the amount of security they needed. So they pulled us off out the bikes to put us down there. I didn't want to be down there personally, but it was cool. Okay, whatever. Bone Thugs and Harmony stage was behind me, literally 6 to 7 feet behind me. There was a gate right in front of me. And when they got on the stage, the people rushed up to that gate. And they stopped to the gate. They act like they wanted to come over, but they wasn't. They didn't. And the main reason for that was because it was only like 300 to 400 people that was in that section of the mall. So it really wasn't that amount of people. But my whole point in mentioning that was the first and only concert that I've ever been in. But I could feel some of the energy that I'm pretty sure that concerts that this individual Travis Scott had, where tens of thousands of people attended, is magnified 100 times over. So one could argue it's this collective energy. But I'm arguing that it could be not only the collective energy, but it can be an egregore working to create a hive mind in the people. You say, you may ask, what is a hive mind? Think about a hive of bees. Who do you have as a master bee? The queen bee. The bumblebees, the rest of the bees do what? They do everything that the queen bee tells them to do. They follow the queen bee's mindset. They follow the queen bee's instructions, thus creating what? A hive mind. And what may have happened at this concert may have been a hive mind created by the collective energies, the collective demonic energies of an egregore, which in turn may have been provoked or opened up by the musical artist himself. Just saying. But that's my belief. What do you guys think about this? Once again, my prayers go out to the individual people that lost their lives. I hope and pray that this is a valuable lesson to be learned. But such a horrible thing. So once again, my prayers go out to those families of those who died. So what is your thoughts on this? Please leave your comments in the comment section below. If you like this video, press the like button, share this video, and subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you again on RCB News.